I'd like to call the meeting to order and acknowledge that we are in Treaty 1 territory, the home of the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Innu, Cree, and Dakota peoples, and the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nations in Treaty 3 territory. I'll introduce the panel members and secretaries. First, I'm Marcel Larondo. I'll be chairing in Man. Is the panel member to the far right, Linda McFadden to my right, and Jason Robertson is our secretary today, and Ken Wong is our assessor. To the Zoom participants of the hearing, please note that you are placed in the waiting room until your property is called upon. When it is your turn, you will be admitted into the meeting. Kindly follow along with the City's Winnipeg Board of Vision YouTube channel for the hearing process. Once the host admits you into the hearing, please close or mute your YouTube player. You will then be permitted to speak with respect to your property. Once your hearing has concluded, you can leave the meeting. We'll be hearing applications for revision of assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we'll limit discussions to those matters. Statements that are made at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matter must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessment of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by council and is independent of it and the city administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the board's decision with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or the Court of King's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemption from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included in the board order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the points of appeal with your property to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all the evidence about the application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat itself for each item on the docket today. The session will close after the applications have all been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the board's decision by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. We will be hearing items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 on our docket today. Mr. Robertson, please affirm the assessor and the applicant's testimony.
Item number one.
Item number 1. 1625.
1625.
Order date.
Madam applicant, please state your full name.
My name is Bogda Krynevska.
Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to give this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. You may be seated. Mr. Assessor, please state your full name. Ken Wong. Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to give this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. Thank you. You may be seated.
Mr. Wong, when you are ready, we are dealing with 1625 Notre Dame.
The subject property is 1625 Notre Dame. The roll number is 130-622-31000. It's a residential apartment block, 2 stories high. It was built in 1955 and it has 6 suites with 6 outdoor parking stalls. On page 3 is a picture of the subject property with its location. It's near Notre Dame and Keewatin. On page 4 is our income valuation summary. So we use average rents of $590 to get a potential income of $56,000. We use a 3.2% vacancy to get an effective gross income of $54,000. And we use a 49% expense ratio to get a net operating income of $27,000. Capped at 5.6%, we have an estimated market value of $492,000. On page 5 are our rent comparables. Show that the rents that we've applied at $590 are in line with what's in the market and maybe a little bit below what the market is. On page 6 is a summary of the income and expenses submitted by the owner. For their 2020 income, it was a 68,000. Less 2,000 vacancy, their income is 66,000. Their expenses are 31,000, but it didn't include any management, so adding 3,000 management expense. But it also included some interest, and so I removed the interest of 7,000. The R&M is low at 3,000. That basically it works out to about 500 per unit, which is on the low side, and so I removed that low repair maintenance amount and added a more normal repair maintenance amounts of 1,300 per unit at $10,400. So that gives their expenses to be 34,000, and their net operating income is 31,000. So when looking at their actuals, which their NOI is about 31,000, it supports the model, which is at 27,000. On page 7 is information on how we derived our cap rates. The majority of top cap rates fall between 4.8 and 5.6%, with some being lower and some being higher. On page 8 are some cap rate sales. There's a range from 3.6% to 5.779%. These sales substantiate the cap rates that the model is using for valuation. Page 9 is some alternate cap rate information, indicating that the cap rates, the trend has been falling from 2009 to 2021, and indicating that the cap rate in 2020 is about 4.3%. That's for the national trend, but if you look on page 10, that would be Winnipeg, relevant to Winnipeg. But as you can see, it's for 2017, it's 4.5%, and the national trend in 2017 is also 4.5%. So the national trend is in line with the Winnipeg trend. Page 12, it's to the end of the read part is the income and expenses submitted by the owner. So the model NOI in this case is supported by the actual NOI of the subject property, and the model cap rate that we've used is supported by the market. So I ask you to maintain the assessed value at 492,000.
Do you have any questions of the assessor?
No, sorry, I don't have a question, I have a comment, but maybe I can use these comments as I present mine.
Yes, that'll be a good idea. And we'll see if we have any questions here for you. Ian?
Just one with respect to the cap rate trending. Is that are those trends based on all the sales, or this methodology used was related to some sales or all sales of multiple residential buildings? Or do you know?
As far as I know, it would be based off of sales in different cities in the country, and I would think it would include Winnipeg, but on the chart on page 10 is more relevant to the Winnipeg market,
right,
which seems to be identical to the national chart there.
Okay, thank you.
Linda?
Just a clarification on the number of units on the first page it says 6, but later on when you're doing your page 4 workout, it's 8. Got 6 ones and 2 bedrooms.
I think the page 1 is not accurate. Page 4 is accurate, and it's and I was just looking at at my page 15. It's indicating 6 and 2 for a total of 8.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
unfortunately, these two sort of fields, they're not connected to each other. So basically, if one gets updated for renovations where units are added, they kind of both have to be updated. And I think in this particular case, the field on the first page wasn't updated when the rest of the units were updated.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to be sure.
To make a note of that. Thank you.
Okay, that's all.
On your capitalization rate evidence, do you have any that are closer to the same size as this building? You go in 1955, but it's a larger building, I do believe, and it's on Gordon. And none of these are really in this area.
No, they weren't meant to be, I guess, a direct comparable cap rates to the subject property. They're there to substantiate the cap rate that was applied by the model.
And so the model is using across the city, not specifically for this area?
I'm not totally sure. It's just that the number of sales are limited. So we try to do the best we can with the sales that are available. And so unfortunately, I would say it might be impossible to get exact sort of cap rate comparables that are similar locations, similar size. So I believe that they've sort of done the best that they could with the sales that were available.
Okay, but do you think Gordon Avenue or St. Mary's would have the same cap rate as over on Notre Dame?
They are further away, and like I say, it would be difficult to sort of find exact comparable cap rates for all the properties. Say if we have 1,000 properties in a field, to find 1,000 different cap rates to sort of match up with each one, it would be kind of difficult. So I think basically what the modelers have done is that they've done the best they can with regards to the cap rate sales that are available.
Okay, so that's all model anyway, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. On with the presentation, please.
Like the numbers which the assessor prepared, they are pretty close, which I'm getting, except, and thank you for that, except one thing is that after last 80 years and the last few years, I have a terrible problem with the tenants to fill the building. If you look in my on page 12, if you look on my income tax report, you see vacancy 11,000. It's almost 15%.
Well, we don't have a page.
Yeah, pages 1 through 5 for you.
Of Kim's,
I think it's my
of your.
Oh, it's those camps. Okay,
Okay,
go back to this.
thank you. Sorry.
Sorry about that. We are all confused on that one. That's on Kim's report. Okay, go to page 12.
Right.
Okay, go ahead, ma'am.
There is the vacancy, it's 11,000, it's 15%. I have 2 apartments vacant. One was vacant the entire year, another was vacant and half a year. The part was the COVID, but another part is that it's very hard for me to get reliable tenants. Whatever I'm doing to check up on the tenants, sometimes they bring me even people sheets that they are working, and they never work in this company. They are selling drugs. I have such problem because if I get drug dealer to my apartment building, I am all by myself. I don't have a help of the tenancy branch. I don't have a help of the police because they said that nobody can do me nothing. And it's become a huge problem for my building because if once the drug dealer get into the building, the doors are open all the time because of the free access of his clients. There is even the mouse coming to the building because the doors are open all the time. There is a lot of damage to the building because his client are looking for something to steal to have money for the uh, portion to buy the drugs. Like this is the year which we figure out. This was the last year, 2021. I have only one apartment, 1 month vacancy, but I have dropped the amount of money to get discount for 1 year, and I also dropped the money for other apartment. In this year, I have 1 apartment vacant for 8 months. I renovated this apartment. This was 1 portion, but another portion was the same one which I was talking to you. I have very hard time to get reliable tenants, and it's not only it's such stressful for me because this is such going dishonesty around that it's very hard for me to go there. And another issue is like we going to here to increase the value of the building. When I bought this building in 2005, I never bought this building in the purpose of investment building. It's recently the idea of investment building. When I bought this building, nobody even wanted to buy these buildings because it was such hard to maintain these buildings. I bought this building for the purpose that if I'm going to retire, I will have additional income because the building will pay it off. I was laid off before COVID, and I couldn't even do nothing much because I was such involved in this building because I have 2 drugs dealers in this apartment building. And if you see this, what you show here, the income, operating income, is basically my income which I'm living. You said that you don't have a maintenance value because I don't know how to, not maintenance, management value, because I'm doing this. I don't know how I should approach this. I even perform some repairs. I'm doing a lot of repairs, which what I'm doing here, I'm calculating like how much hours I spent on the repair. And when I had the handyman again before, he charged me 25 hours. Now I can't even find the handyman. They charge like, recently I was talking with somebody, he said 75 hours per hour. I said, I can afford this amount of money. And whatever it's here, I know that I have to pay taxes. We have to pay taxes for whatever we are getting. But you put a capitalization rate here, 5.6. If you look on your capitalization number on page 7, I don't know if you're on the same page. There is, what I understand, I am in the multifamily schedule. Yeah, and it was low rise or low rise A, but they have the same numbers, yes? But they are between 20 and 80%. Like there is, I was on the question which you asked, how the data of the capitalization rate fall down. I found something on the internet, and you said that this capitalization data which fall down it shows the trend, national trend. Yes, I found on the internet. I couldn't give here because my computer was broke that time. But this is the company which is called WOFA CA. This is the World of Website Advertisement, and they deal with about 4 million Canadian annually. And they make also this kind of survey. I don't know if you heard about that, how they are reliable. I try to figure out, and it seems that they provide financial advice. They also provide other advice, investment advice. And they said the capitalization rate for multifamily building is between 4, which you show here, but it's also as high as 12. I don't know. I said I checked their background. It seems very reliable, and I don't know how to compare to this. But what I'm asking you today, because you use the 5.6 in my case, which is the 80% of the capitalization rate. I will, and because I have such hard time to maintain this building, and I don't have a high interest rate, not interest rate, I don't have a high rent value. And I know that I have to pay taxes, but I would like also in the COVID everything that you make a little bit better for me. Like if you go to 6.2 capitalization rate, will the value will stay what was from the last assessment value. And I said, well, this building never was meant as an investment property. This is my income property. And I tell you that I am very sad if I read all these papers around us. They said how the person who has a building is the rich person. Well, recently I called one guy who wrote in this paper. I said, do you want to make a review with me? Maybe. It's not true. It's every building is different. I don't have high rent. I'm struggling to get a good tenants because if I bring the drug dealers, everybody it's stressful of the traffic, the people who come, and entire situation. That's what I'm asking today. If you increase the capitalization rate 6.2, which is going to be like 81% for the total global, yes, this graph. It gives me 440. It's not much, but it gives me some release. Thank you.
So you said it gives you 440,000?
Yeah, it's going to be the same as it was in the last.
Yeah, 444.
Yeah.
Pam, questions?
No questions.
Yeah, any questions?
How did you come up with the cap rate of 6.2? Was that just the number that would lead to the same assessment that you had last time?
No, I use his numbers. Yes, exactly his numbers. But because capitalization rate is the operating income divided by the value, and what is divided is the capitalization rate, I basically switch. Yes, I did a few calculations. Yes, I put operating income and capitalization rate. I started 5.7, 5.8. How it's going to affect it's a mathematical calculation.
Thank you.
I have no question.
No question? And you said your vacancy rate was 15% last year?
Yeah, not last year, 2020.
2020.
Last year, it was only one apartment. It's calculated about 1%. But this year, it is also high, 7%.
7% this year.
Like if somebody moves out, my capitalization rate goes up because apartment is unrented for a long, long time because of the problem which I have.
I've got no further questions.
Okay.
We're good. Thank you very much. You'll be hearing from us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Conclude that matter. Number 2. 748. Where did Diane go? Diane, are you here?
She was here.
Yes.
Walked in.
All of these buildings are.
Yep. Yep.
The washroom is lit. Do you want to
Hmm?
move on to item number 3?
I think we'll do that. We'll let Diane come back after.
I think she's number 3 as well. So
Yeah, she's 2 and 3, so we're gonna go down to 4. The Zoom one.
Okay.
Okay, let's go right to 4. We'll come back to number 2 and 3 later. That's Manny.
Mr. Thorne.
You want to swear him in?
Yes. Mr. Thorne, you're muted.
Hi there.
Perfect. Mr. Thorne, please state your full name.
Chris Thorne.
Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Wong, when you are ready on 507 Maryland Street, please.
The subject property is 507 Maryland Street. The roll number is 130-501-390-00. It's a residential apartment block that's 2 stories high. It was built in 2020 and has 5 suites with 5 outdoor parking stalls. On page 3 is a picture of the subject property with its location. Page 4 is our income valuation summary. We use average rents of $1,257 to get a potential income of $75,000. We use a 3.2% vacancy to get an effective gross income of $73,000. And we use the 42% expense ratio to get a net operating income of $42,000. Capped at 4.35%. We have an estimated market value of $970,000. On page 5 are rent comparables, showing that the rents that we've used are in line with what's in the market. On page 6 is I noted from their rent roll that the model was estimating $75,000 of potential income, but when I looked at their rent roll, it was indicating rent potential of $66,000. So that's the model seems to have estimated higher than what they're actually performing at. So if you use their potential from their rent roll and apply a model or market vacancy of 3.2%, the effective gross income is $63,000, and if you apply their expenses at 46%, their NOI is $34,000, and capped at 4.35%, we have an estimated market value of $791,000, and that's a noticeable difference from what the model is estimated at $970,000. So I'd like to revise the value to $791,000 from $970,000.
That's a recommendation.
Yeah, that's on my page 1 as well.
And you inform the appellant on that, or?
No.
Have you heard the recommendation by the Mr. Wong of 791,000?
Yes, I saw that on the brief that was provided to me.
Are you okay with that number, or you want us to continue going through everything?
No, I'd like to continue going through everything.
Continue going? Okay. Mr. Wong, if you want to continue, please.
Okay. On page 7 is the information on how we derived our cap rates. Page 8 are some cap rate sales. Again, it ranges from 3.6% to 5.79%. And on page 9 is some Altus cap rate information indicating the cap rate for 2020 to be 4.3%. On page 12 is some rent roll information, and that's where I got the rent roll from to calculate their potential income. So the revised rent that I've applied in this case is supported by their actual rent roll, so. And their expenses for, like, this is a new property, and typically the expenses might range from about 35% to about 45%, and in this particular case, we're applying 46%, so I feel it's fair. And the cap rate that we've applied is on the lower end, but I believe it is supported by the market. And so I ask that you accept the revised value of $791,000.
Okay. Do you have any questions of the assessor?
No, I can address it during my sort of brief presentation here.
Okay, Ian, any questions?
Just with respect to the recommendation, because of the use of the rent roll, use the actual rent roll that was submitted. That's right. The expenses, are those actual expenses as well, or are those model driven?
Those are I guess they're model driven. It's a little bit different than what the model initially applied, because I made some adjustments to the characteristics, because obviously the model was overshooting in the valuation. So I made some adjustments, and it indicated 46%. So I applied 46% in this case.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions.
Linda?
I have no questions.
And I've got no questions. On with your presentation, please.
Okay, thanks everyone. I will keep things very brief here. I'm not going to dispute anything to do with income or expenses. I think those are very reasonable. It's the cap rate that I would like to focus on. And cap rate is a tricky one. It's difficult to get a perfect comparable, as I think the assessor mentioned at one point. However, the cap rate is a function of the area the property is located in, and it also speaks to whether there's a value add opportunity. And typically, when you see these apartments trade in the 4 range for cap rates, there's a big value add opportunity, and that's why people are willing to overpay for properties, because they're willing to pay for a little bit of the upside. So in this case, I actually developed, built, and now manage this property. So there essentially is no value add opportunity with this property, and a cap rate in the 4s would be incorrect for this property. Also with the area, so this property is located in a rough part of the West End. I have a number of properties in the West End. It is a rough area. It's difficult to attract tenants when we have a vacancy. It's typically several months, as opposed to other areas of town where I own properties like St. Vital, St. Boniface, South Osborne. Vacancies are typically filled within a month. So I believe that needs to be factored into the cap rate as well. Some of the cap rates being used as comparables are, let's see here. I mean, St. Vital, St. Boniface, Warden area. So I don't truly believe these are good cap rate comparisons, given the area and essentially that this isn't a value add opportunity. So there's no reason to overpay for the property. And then just looking at the cap rates, the cap rate tables that the assessor submitted on page 7 here. If you look at multifamily, again, this doesn't take into account properties that are trading artificially low because of the value add opportunity. The range is still like 4.8 to 5.6. So I would suggest probably, well, in my brief, I requested a 6 cap, which I think is reasonable, but I don't think we should be below 5.75, maybe 5.5 at the absolute lowest. That's essentially it.
Is that it for your presentation?
Yep, that's my presentation.
Mr. Wong, any questions?
I guess, you have put some Collier's information in here regarding cap rates.
Yeah, yes, I did.
Yeah, and I think Collier's might be indicating, I guess, a cap rate of 5 to 6%.
I'm just pulling up the information from the Collier's cap rate report here, so we're looking at the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm looking at it now. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so their Collier's is indicating 5 to 6%.
Correct.
And you are maybe suggesting a cap rate of 5.75 or 6%.
I would think that would be the range, yeah, considering the location.
Yeah.
And the fact that there's no value add opportunity. I think for those reasons, the cap rate between 5.75 and 6 would be appropriate.
Okay. So I guess you're kind of selecting a cap rate on the higher end of that range, primarily due to the location.
Location and lack of value add opportunity. Those are the two major factors there.
Okay. And have you seen any sales that might support that?
No, I have not. Well, I mean, I'm going off of a cap rate, or many cap rate reports from these companies that sort of aggregate the information and applying just the two factors I mentioned, both the area and the lack of value add opportunity, and factoring that into the reason why I think 5.75 and 6 would be appropriate.
Okay. I know you're saying, I guess that would be all my questions.
Linda, any questions?
I don't have any further questions. Thank you.
Ian?
No, I don't have any further questions. Thank you.
So what was the number you're looking for then, if you're looking between 5.5 and 6?
Yeah, so I think in my presentation here, I was looking for a value of $637,000.
I didn't see it.
So it's not far off what he was proposing, which I think was 791.
Correct. Yeah, why don't I have it?
You do. About halfway in, further. After that.
There it is.
Sorry, can I ask you one more question?
Sure you can, Ken.
Sure. I guess the property management amount that you indicated on your stabilized, that works out to about 9.45%. Are you aware that, I guess, typical management, usually for valuation purposes, is around 5%?
Yes, I'm aware. I'm taking into account the area, and the area going rate for property management was 8% plus fees in addition to that. So it's roughly 10%.
Okay, I've got no further questions. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
You'll be hearing from us.
Okay, thanks. Take care.
I guess we're going back to Diane.
It's coming back there.
Yeah. Diane, are you ready or you want to wait till the end?
I can wait.
You want to wait till the end? I see you're still going through your papers, eh?
Yeah.
Okay, let's move these other two gentlemen and then we'll come back to you.
Yeah.
We'll let you wait a little bit.
I lost my, your send, I lost it. Can I borrow you to read it, when you hearing on this one, please?
It might be,
I lost it. I cannot found.
yeah, I'm not sure if we can sort of share it,
Have
but
you got a copy of his presentation?
Have we got a copy of his?
Yeah.
Yes, I can,
Yeah.
I think I might have a copy. If I don't, when we finish with you gentlemen, if you want, we can break recess and I can print you one for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
copy
She
mine.
wanted to read it while they were presenting.
Oh, I see.
So,
You can, well, yeah, I'm not sure if you want to copy mine or
well,
if that might be the practice, I'm not sure.
you can print it off just as fast, probably.
Probably. Yeah. Double check.
It'll just be a minute. You just have it? There you go.
Thank you so much.
You got some reading material, Dan.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna move on to the other ones then. So that'll be number 5, correct? Will be next.
Yes.
151 Maple Glen Drive.
All right, I'll sit here.
Is it two of you?
Two, yeah.
Okay. Mr. Applicant, please state your full name.
Timberway.
Thank you. Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give to this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Mr. Applicant, please state your full name.
Sherwood Cohen.
Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. We've got 2 chairs.
Thank you very much.
Enough room for us?
Him and what was the other gentleman's name?
Lloyd.
Right? Okay, thanks. When you are ready, Mr. Wong, with property 151 Maple Glen Drive.
The subject property is 151 Maple Glen Drive. The roll number is 050-041-22500. It's a residential apartment block that's 3 stories high. It's built in 1974 and it has 72 suites with 76 outdoor parking stalls. On page 3 is a picture of the subject property with its location. Located near Inkster Boulevard and McPhillips. On page 4 is our income valuation summary. We use average rents of $1,024 to get a potential income of $885,000. The 4.2% vacancy to get an effective gross income of $848,000. We use the 49% expense ratio to get a net operating income of $425,000. Capped at 5.25%, we have an estimated market value of $8,173,000. On page 5 are our rent comparable, showing that the rents that we've used are in line with what's in the market. On page 6 is a summary of the income and expenses applied by the owner. You can their income it seems to have steadily increased from 2018 to 2020 from 781,000 to 816,000. And their expenses were sort of stable for 2018 or 2019, but it seems like their expenses went up noticeably in 2020. Seems that there might be some renovation work happening starting in 2020. But in order to get a stabilized income or net operating income, on the second chart in my page 6, I use their income of 816,000, and I use their expenses from 2018 and 19, which seems like they were normal expenses for the property. And so averaging those 2 years, it comes out to 442,000, which gives an NOI of 373,000. And The model estimated net operating income of 425,000. So it appears that the model is estimating high with regards to the net operating income. And so I'd like to propose a revised value of 7,187,000.
Okay. Here we're gonna do that, you still want to continue on? Okay, we'll go on.
On page 7 is information on how we derive our cap rates. Page 8 are some cap rate sales, ranging from 3.6 to 5.79%. 5.74%, sorry. On page 9 is some information indicating that the cap rates for 2020 are 4.3%. So I believe the sales information and the office information substantiates the cap rates that the model is using. Page then the remainder of my brief is the income and expenses supplied by the owner. So the revised NOI that I proposed is supported by their actual information, and the model cap rate that we've applied is supported by market sales. So I have to accept the revised value of 7,187,000.
Okay, any questions, gentlemen?
Just a few short ones. On page 6 of the income and expense summary, again, the income, actual reported income has been used. And you see from 2018 to 2019, it's about a 2% bump. From 19 to 20, about a 2% bump. And same thing, the expenses are the actual expenses for 18 and 19. You see a 9% bump from 18 to 19. And again, 2020 is a little bit out of whack there with the large jump. The decision was then to decrease, though, the 2019 expenses back towards the midpoint between 2018 and 2019. That's correct?
Yes.
So while the revenues are going up and the expenses have been going up, the numbers that are used here actually uses a decrease for the expenses. From 19 to 20.
From 19 to 20, yes, it would be. From 18 to 19, it would be, I guess, somewhere in the middle.
So it would be a decrease there from 2019 to the numbers.
It would be a decrease from 2019 and an increase from 2018.
Okay. And then in terms of the cap rates on page 7, again, a 5.2 has been selected. Based on the Collier, Seabury, and Cushman, the range from 5 to 6%. So the 5.2 would be towards the low end of these rates, the CBRE, Colliers, and Cushman.
Yes.
And kind of within the rate of the city of Winnipeg rates.
Yes.
Okay, that's really all the questions for that.
Right. You want to bring something up?
Well, it's basically the same thing. I'm looking at, I admit that 2020 is out of line, and I'll explain that when I get to it. But I'm looking at it seems to me it would be appropriate that as buildings age, the expenses would go up. And therefore, I would suggest that if you're using 423 and 462, the increase over that would be at 9%. I would suggest it would be more appropriate to apply that for the next 2 years, which would bring you up to a substantially higher expense. And by the same token, you could take the revenues and increase them based on a 2 and a 2.25% to get something like I use 221 using your numbers, 221, which would be an $834,000 revenue against $505,000 expenses. And then even applying your cap rate, which I question, even applying your cap rate to that, we're down to $6.3 million. So I would think just on a fairness basis, using your information, you would be in line with what I'm proposing in my presentation.
Was that a question, Lee?
Yes, was it?
No, not quite.
Why did you not take that approach?
The revised value that I proposed, like, we have exposure to, I guess, the market and what typical expenses and experience that, when there's work being done to a property, typically, I would say the expenses don't necessarily go up significantly. Sometimes they might go down because improvements that might make the building more efficient, that can play a part into it. And when I say look at the in this particular case, the expense ratio that I've applied for the revised value is 54%. And typically buildings like this, they might operate at a 50% or so expense ratio. So applying a 54%, they said it's difficult to sort of pinpoint an exact number in terms of an expense ratio. But the thing is, when that 54% is fairly in line with what I might see in other similar properties, and that's why I didn't necessarily, I guess, go about the route that you were suggesting. So that's pretty much why I did it the way I did. It's just because with the adjustments that I made, it does seem to fall in line with a market apartment building, and especially considering that I think you're making improvements to the property. I think that's why I thought it was, I guess, reasonable and fair.
My only further question on that point would be, when you're looking at the overall market conditions, I can understand that approach. I would think when you're more site specific and we're dealing with these issues, that you would concentrate more specifically on the actual property rather than the hypothetical averages. That wasn't a question.
You're heading down the wrong alley again, Lloyd.
I mean, yeah, you can talk about this stuff maybe when you're presenting.
We'll hear it in your presentation, Mike. Ian, do you have any questions of the assessor?
Just with respect to the expenses that you calculated, that 54% on page 6 or 15.
Yeah, 54. Yep.
54.23%. That's model driven expenses?
No,
or is that
no.
based on the stabilized for 2018, 2019 over the income of 2020?
It's exactly what you just said.
Okay. And the expenses for 2020 were those just disregarded in your calculation, or did you look at the mailer that appears on page 12, which seems to show expenses of $762,000 or total expenses of
normally when I guess maybe expenses jump in this case almost 100%. It's usually an indication that they're doing major work to the property. And when we're trying to stabilize a net operating income, that's not how it would normally operate. It wouldn't normally operate at 760,000. So I felt it would seem like it would operate at 442,000, which is in line with what it might be experiencing prior to them initiating the work that they're doing.
Okay, thank you. I have nothing further.
Linda,
I don't like that different answer.
I've only got one question for you. Have you been to the property yet, Ken?
I have not.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on with your presentation, gentlemen. Whoever's first.
Thank you. Mr. Cohen, as the owner of the property, put together a very lengthy and thorough report here. I just wondered if you could give the board a quick synopsis of the property and a little bit of some of the work that has happened in 2020 to help explain some of these expenses and what's been happening to the property.
Sure. To start out, I will acknowledge the 762,000 is high. And that's something we're become aware of. We are renovating the building. We started renovating the building in 2020. In 2020, we had 11 suites underway. And then in 2021, we made application for a rent increase above guidelines because we were heading that way. And that decision started in September of 2020. We didn't get a conclusion until August of 2021. So people seeing the rent increase, we're vacating the building in anticipation of it being up in the 19%, which is what we were asking for. We got a 13% increase. We held off on the renovations for 2021 and started them again in 2022 fiscal year end. But we had a high vacancy rate, and the problem that we had with that particular number is that we're doing a lot of the renovations in-house. And so our bookkeeper's having trouble separating operating expenses from capital expenses. So we agree with you in terms of discarding that number, but nevertheless, we feel that you could have more appropriately extrapolated to 2019 and 2020. What we have done is we put together a operating statement for the 12 months prior to April 2021 or April 1st of 2021, and that you'll see, and I apologize, we have not numbered our pages, but that will be page 8.
I'm happy.
Thank you very much. So page 8, we tried to respond in terms of your format that you people offer when you ask us for information. So the middle column is the line number on your form, which we would equate to, which we came up with an $808,000 income. And the operating statement, as you can see, is more in line with what we've been talking about, is $464,000, leaving us a net operating income of $343,700. Down below, we just wanted to demonstrate to you what our vacancy rate is. We have a gross potential of $119,900, $112,000, and our vacancy loss on that basis, $131,000, which is giving us a 14% vacancy rate, which is substantially different than what you propose. So coming back to page 5, we've got a net operating income of $343,700, and we're using a cap rate of 5.79. And our argument for our cap rate of 5.79 is similar to, I think that gentleman's name was Chris, is that there's no inherent value in it other than their income on it. So we're suggesting that if you look at the mortgage rate at April of 2021, May 31st of 2021 is on one of our pages here, is 4.79. So that's page 13, by the way. Our 5-year standard mortgage rate, historical mortgage rate of the 25-year AM is 4.79. We think that it would be not unreasonable for an investor looking at the return on that property, not having the upside potential, to look at 1 point above that. And we're saying that on a minimum, it should be 5.79, which gives us a value of nearly $6 million, or 5.95. The other information we basically put in here is simply we tried to show what our rent per square foot is, to show you that it's reasonable in case you're questioning that. And the other things are basically putting in our statements that we provided you people, and to demonstrate that although the overall market shows CMHC's vacancy report showing a substantially lower vacancy rate, if you're applying to the universal market, that we would acknowledge on this particular property, because of the situation, we're suggesting the vacancy rate should be a lot higher.
So Mr. Cohen, can I ask you one question? From the expenses from 2018 to 2019 went up 9%. Were there any major renovations going on, or was that sort of a normal rate of increase?
That would be our normal rate of increase based on this experience, yes.
So from 19 to 20, while those expenses were obviously much higher than they due to some of the renovations, would you expect those expenses from 2019 to go down in 2020 if you weren't doing any renovations?
Certainly not.
You expect something in the 2 to 9% to kind of increase again from that year to the next?
I think 2018 to 2019 is indicative of what your expenses would be going up on an aging building process.
So you wouldn't expect them to go down?
Certainly not.
So yeah, again, as Mr. Cohen said, I think just taking those 2019 expenses and averaging them from a lower year isn't necessarily appropriate. We would expect to see an increase in the expenses. If anyone can find me some expenses that are going down these days, I'll take some of those. But to see a modest increase in those expenses rather than stabilizing going backwards, we're not doing that for income. So to do that for expenses, I don't think is reasonable. And again, as Mr. Cohen said, the cap rate of 5.2%, it's at the low end of most of the different metrics. And given the fact that some of these units have now been renovated, taken out of that rental potential, that the 5.2% is too low, and it should be higher, as Mr. Cohen has stated. Will you do anything else to add to that?
No, other than to think that our valuation was on the conservative side.
For this part, I think that's our.
That's it. We're going to see if we've got some questions. Mr. Wong.
Yeah. Just with regards to maybe your page 3.
Page 3 of Barbary.
Yeah. Should be just on the bottom of the page. It's regarding vacancy. Yes.
Yes.
So I guess you guys are applying a 14.3% vacancy to your valuation.
Yes.
And is that 14.3% vacancy due to phased in renovation in that period?
Correct. So we're saying that we made application for a 19% rent increase.
Yeah.
Starting in January. So as tenants saw that, they started vacating the building. They were under renovation.
Would you expect that vacancy rate to remain going forward?
I hope not, once renovations are all done, but during the course of renovations, yeah.
So I guess it would be lower under normal circumstances.
Under once it's fully off, yeah. Under normal circumstances, it'd be lower.
And with regards to page 4 on the next page. With regards to your cap rate, and like I guess with our department, we calculate cap rates by looking at sales of apartment buildings and looking at stabilizing their NOI and turning a cap rate that way. And like appraisers also use a similar approach to I guess for cap rate analysis purposes. They look at sales and performance of properties that have sold. I guess you're using a 5-year fixed mortgage rate to determine your cap rate. I'm just wondering if this is common in the valuation industry.
I think when you do two mortgage equity evaluations, I think basically that's what purchasers look at, is they look at a return on their investment. And when you have a low cap rate, you're looking for some upside potential, meaning you can renovate the building or you can tear it down and build new or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think if you're looking at strictly, you're financing the building and you want something better than what the bank's going to get, I think you should look at something higher.
Okay. So with regards to the methodology that you've used, do you know if it's very common in the valuation industry?
I think any cap rates have mortgage rates as part of built into them, as there's going to be a correlation between cap rates going or interest rates going up and cap rates going up. There is obviously a correlation, not a point per point, but there is a correlation that I think would be considered in any cap rate selection.
Okay. But, okay, that would be all my questions.
Linda?
Don't have any further questions. Thank you.
Ian?
I do. I don't want to go line by line through expenses. I accept that expenses are going to tend to go up over year. But there's one line in here that jumps out at me, and I'd like you to explain it, please. You're first of all looking at page, I guess, 25 on your brief, and that's using the page count at the top of the to program the income and expenses. Am I the only one that's looking at that page, Kelly?
For 2018, I think it's for 2018.
Yes, to 2018. Oh, thank you. It's typed, it's further down, it's 2/3 of the way into the or almost 3/4 of the way into the document file.
You want to refer to a line on the right-hand side that's in brackets?
Yeah, I do. I was just waiting until everyone got there. Line 213, wages and benefits caretaker. $91,675.
Yeah, that would be more than wages and caretaking.
Okay, and I noticed as well, and continuing on then to 2020, which is page 31 on mine, the wages and benefits caretaker, line 213 again is now 123,473, or a significant 45% increase.
Yes, well, as I indicated, we're having trouble separating the capital expense and our maintenance expense, because it's our maintenance staff that are doing a large percentage of the renovations.
Okay, thank you.
I would just add that again, the 2020 expenses, again, obviously are quite high. If you look at the 18 line item for caretaker was 91,000, for 19 was 87,000. So the brief would have averaged that number of 89,000.
And the year before that was 73,000. So it's gone up significantly, almost 50% in that time period.
But again, I would say that, the city, the assessor's briefs haven't taken those 2020, the larger jump into consideration.
Okay, thank you. I have nothing further.
What's your percentage now for that April 2021 of your expenses? The percentage of it, expenses.
You're looking at our page 8, our
Your
actual
page 8,
submission.
yeah, your actual submission.
I'd have to do the calculation. It should be, well, see, yeah, so that, I mean, there's the distortion. We've got a maintenance that 14,000. So it's a problem being that we're renovating, and our maintenance guy is doing the replumbing each suite, is doing the painting, is doing those 2 items in-house. We're getting contractors to do the kitchen cupboards and kitchen countertops and flooring.
Gee, but that's falling into your expenses that you're showing on here.
I'm saying no, when you look at maintenance and repairs,
Yeah,
for 2021, it's showing $14,000, which is ridiculously low. So that's probably in our capital expenses. Am I answering your question?
yeah, but it's just, well, I'm just seeing 14,000 on the maintenance and the repairs, and I'm seeing the wages at 92,000.
Yeah, so we're doing repairs and maintenance at the same time.
And it's all in-house then. The contractors are in-house?
No, the kitchen cupboards and the countertops and flooring is all contracted out. And that's not in here. You're not seeing that in here. That would be our capital expenses.
But even this, you're showing in the over 60% on your expenses.
You calculate at 60%.
Over 60%, isn't it?
No, so
Like
57
57.
and change.
Which again, I would propose that 57% from the assessor's brief of 54% going backwards from 2019.
Yeah.
57, that actual number on a percentage basis is closer to realistic still.
54.
No, the 57, this page has 57% expenses.
Yeah.
That 54% is going backwards from 2019. If you keep a trend from the 19 to even a modest 2%, that's going to be in that 57% range for expenses.
Well, I like when we have paper.
Actually, I love this paper. You gotta go both. You go both. I got the paper.
It's just so much easier.
Actually, even when I'm doing it.
If you look at 2019, it's, I think, 5792 is what I calculated, but
I'm looking for what the original.
The original is 49.9, I think.
Expenses,
Mhm.
percentage, 49.9. It's increased to 54, 54, right? 54.23. He's looking for 57. So we're looking at cap rate, he's looking at percentage there. Okay, now I know where I'm going.
There you go.
That's all I need to know. I'm just trying to get all my numbers. Make sense. Thank you very much.
thank
I
you.
think that'll include that one.
The next one as well. 24 Hastings is them as well.
Before Hastings is done.
Is them. I believe.
Them?
Yes.
Oh, you're
Same-
on
same-
that one too?
same-
So, before Hastings then,
We're not going away yet.
you're sticking around, eh? Okay. Let us pull it up first. Is that yours, Lloyd, that's going? But
It is, I brought it up.
If you could put it on silent for a while, it'd be appreciated.
I had it turned off. I was bringing it up to use the calculator and I decided I better not. So I'll just close it off. Sorry about that.
I'm the one that's usually doing that offense. So now we're on number 6, and that's 24 Hastings. Mr. Wong, when you are ready, I do believe everybody's ready.
Subject property at 24 Hastings Boulevard. The roll number is 080-033-18000. The residential apartment block that's 3 stories high. It was built in 2015 and has 17 suites with 17 indoor parking stalls. On page 3 is a picture of the subject property with its location. Where in the south down by St. Mary's and Bishop Brandon. On page 4 are some pictures of the some interior pictures of the subject property. Page 5 is our income valuation summary. We use average rents of $1,619 to get a potential income of $330,000. We use the 3.2% vacancy to get an effective gross income of $319,000. And we use the 43% expense ratio to get a net operating income of $181,000. Capped at 4.15%, we have an estimated market value of $4,370,000. Page 6 are some rent comparables, when the rents we've used are in line with what's in the market. Page 7 is a summary of the income and expenses submitted by the owner. In 2020, for 2020, their income was $337,000. Their expenses are $288,000. And their repair and maintenance expense was $164,000. $164,000 is a lot. It's more than the norm for repair and maintenance. It works out to like it would be 9,000 per suite, and typically apartments might operate in the neighborhood of maybe 500 to a couple $1,000 per suite. So their repair and maintenance, it's not, I guess, at market levels. So removing the repair and maintenance of 164,000 and applying a repair and maintenance figure per unit of $1,200 per unit, That works out to $20,400 for repair and maintenance. Their operating expenses are about $144,000, and their resulting operating income is about $192,000. So $192,000 is supports the model, which estimated $181,000. So when you stabilize their repair and maintenance, the model gets pretty close to the model, and actually maybe a bit higher than the model. On page 8 is information on how we derived our cap rates. Page 9 is are some cap rate sales that range from 3.6 to 5.74%. And on page 10 and 11, all the cap rate information indicating 2020 cap rate of 4.3%. I believe that substantiates the cap rate that the model is applying. On page 13 is the income expense millers committed by the owner. On page 15 is the permit that was taken out for the property in 2014 when it was constructed. Their indicated project value is about $3.5 million. On page 16 and 17 are some permits that were taken out for some work that was done. One permit for $161,000 and the other permit for $320,000. And on page 18, it's a summary of the permit values. In 2014, the declared value is $3.5 million. And in my experience, the costs are typically higher than what is stated on the permit. And in 2017, $161,000 in permit value, and 2019, $320,000 in permit value. The total of those are about $3.98 million. And that doesn't include what the land value might be worth. So considering the permit values and what the land value might be worth, I feel that that supports the assessed value at $4.37 million. So pretty much in line. So like I said, the model net operating income seems to be supported by the actual NOI, and the cap rates are the model cap rate is supported by the market. The cost to build the property is supportive of the model value of $4,370,000. So I ask that you maintain the assessed value at $4,370,000.
Any questions, gentlemen?
Got a few more on this one, yes.
Good.
I'm going to start with just on page 6 of the rent comparables. Is it fair to say that comparable 1 at 2000 St. Mary's and number 3 at 919 St. Anne's are further south of the subject, south of Bishop Grandin?
Yes.
The subject would be north of Bishop Grandin?
Yes.
Would you consider there to be a difference between the neighborhoods and the quality of the neighborhoods between the north and south there?
Potentially, but I would say it's kind of hard to quantify. And I guess in my experience, it sort of seems like a lot of the newer apartment buildings are, I guess, I would say that they're renting similarly. Okay. I guess that's my
So number 1 and 3 would be kind of part of the sprawl, the newer area to some extent, to the sprawl to the south.
Potentially, yeah.
And number 4 is part of Sage Creek's part of the new development out there.
Yeah, it was built in 2019.
But number 2 part on Chevrolet, that would be more of an infill property, more of an established neighborhood.
I am not sure.
I would argue that it is infill, similar to the subject being in a more established neighborhood. And I would just point out that number 2 did have the lowest rent compared to the subject. Again, that's part of a sort of more of an infill than a newer area. Jumping back to page 5, the vacancy rate of 3.2%. I know that's model driven, but do you know what information that's taken? Is that largely based on CMHC information or market data, or do you know what the model would bring that in from?
Yeah, it's like we ask for income and expense information from all the commercial properties in Winnipeg, and that's where we would get it from.
Okay. If I told you that for CMHC they would have a higher vacancy rate for properties with higher rents of say 1,300 plus, would you agree with that? That higher rent properties would generally have higher vacancy rates for apartment buildings?
Potentially.
And what about newer buildings? If I told you CMHC had higher vacancy rates for newer buildings, say built from 2005 plus, that they would have a higher vacancy rate than older buildings?
Potentially.
Note on the part of the information filed on page 13 of your brief, there is a vacancy reported there of 17,415. I've calculated that at 5.1%. And the model using 3.2%. Is there any weight on the actual vacancy here applied, or would that be straight model driven?
I mean, the model value is model driven, but with regards to, I guess, my summary of the 2020 income, it would take that into consideration because I'm just taking the operating income, which includes the vacancy that you have calculated. Right. So the model is the model, and on page 7 is the summary, which I think which includes the vacancy.
For 2020, okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump back a little bit again to page 15 and 16, the 2 permits that were pulled. If you kind of look at the top of the building, sorry, 16 and 17. The 16 described the landlord work crawl space remediation. Work includes new insulation, new drainage tiles, sump pumps, etc. And page 17 again, landlord work, interior alteration, the crawl space for remediation. These were pulled in 17 and 19. Would you expect that kind of work to be typical of a building that was built in 2015?
I don't know, but I guess I wouldn't think so.
So if you're just reading that, it seems like it's fixing something of a new building that's being fixed. So I question in terms on page 18, adding those repair work 2 and 4 years after a building was built to add that permit work for what seems to be fixing an issue to the total value maybe doesn't make sense in my mind. I'm just wondering the rationale of work that appears to be, again, fixing a new building doesn't really contribute to the value.
I guess in terms of say putting, if I had so much money into a property, I would probably not want to sell it for less than that. And so I guess you could potentially look at it in slightly different ways.
Right. Okay. So the market may not, well, the vendor may take that into consideration. A purchaser may not necessarily take repair work to a new building into consideration. Potentially. I'll move on next to back to page 5, the expense rate views of the 43.31%. I appreciate that's part of the model. I assume that lower rate would be partially based on the age of the building, but it would take the building age into consideration.
Yeah, like you might have heard me say earlier. I guess newer properties typically experience expense ratios from, I said 35 to 45, but it might actually be 30% to 45, depending on the building. And so this one being at 43, it seems to, I would say, fit
as part of a newer build.
Yeah.
Okay. And lastly, in terms of the cap rate of 4.15%. And we look at page 8, 4.15% is quite a bit lower than any of the Colliers, CBRE, or Cushman And it's even well below the city of Winnipeg rate, or the 20th percentile rate of 4.8%. Would that be a very, very low point for apartment buildings? Are you aware of what the low point for an apartment building would be based on the city of Winnipeg numbers?
I believe it's 3.8.
Okay.
And so we're the 4.15, it falls into the lowest 20th percentile category. So, I mean, the majority of them fall between 4.6, or sorry, 4.8 and 5.6. But there are some that fall below 4.6, and there are some that fall above 5.6.
So, but 4.15 is well below that 20th percentile.
It is lower, and but in my experience, I've seen cap rates that are that low, and once again, I mean, if you look at my page 10 and 11, like in 11 for the Winnipeg market, they're indicating cap rate of 4.5% in 2017, and for my page 10, it's indicating a cap rate of 4.3% for 2020. So, I mean, it does, when you at first glance, it might seem pretty low, but from the information that I've seen, it is not unheard of.
I think I just have one more, but don't hold me to that. Page 9. Again, I appreciate these cap rates are a reflection overall of the information that you have, but the one comp, the very top one at 2390 McPhillips, kind of jumps out. It's occurred in late 2020. It was built in 2015 with an effective age of 2015, and it's reporting a cap rate of 4.79%. So exact same age as the subject, very recent sale. It's a large property on a busy thoroughfare. Just wondering if you have any opinion of why the subject property at 4.15% would be so much lower than a building the same age on a busy street that reported 4.79 just a few months prior to that effective date.
I'm not sure about the modeling algorithm that went to getting the cap rate for the subject property, but from what I can tell, typically smaller buildings have lower cap rates, and I can't say why. I can only guess, and my guess is that it's a little bit more attainable for more investors, whereas like the subject property, 17 units, the sale of 2390 McPhillips is 90 units, and so I'm not saying that me and my pal could go and get together $4 million for this property, but it might be harder for me and my pal to get $19 million for the property. But that's just maybe what I think, and that's what, yeah. But in terms of what a buyer was thinking, I'm not sure.
But that 2390 is at 4.79. That is what a buyer was thinking for an apartment building that was built in 2015 was 4.79% cap rate.
Yeah, and that's what we've calculated, and the subject property is similar, but it is 17 units versus the 90 units.
So I know they're not apples to apples, but if you look at the other 5 comparables, 4 of them, they're all smaller, and 4 of them are above the 4.79%. Or 3 of them. 3 of them are above, and 1 is right at the 4.77. Yeah. So in that case, the smaller buildings are showing, generally speaking, a higher cap rate than the property on McPhillips.
Well, I mean, if you look at the age of the buildings, they're not. I wouldn't say they're comparable at all, and so it's just the higher cap rate might be more indicative of the age of the building, and so.
So comparable number 1 is similar because of the age, but the subject should be lower because it's smaller. But when you look at the smaller buildings, the subject's significantly lower than that because it's of newer construction is what you're proposing.
I mean, what I think might be the case is if if the other properties that you're talking about were larger, I believe that the cap rates would be higher. That's what I mean.
Okay. Will you have any questions?
Couple, on page 9 of your brief, you've indicated a cap rate of 4.79, which coincidentally is the mortgage rate at that point in time. But you also indicate a suite price of $215,000. Would it not be appropriate then, rather than use a cap rate, to take that $215,000 per suite and multiply it by the 17 suites? And wouldn't that come more in line with what we're proposing?
It's a possible way of looking at it, but you can also look at economies of scale as well. And so if you took economies of scale into consideration, then maybe the per suite value should be higher if you look at it that way. So
Stretch, does it not?
not as far as I know. I mean,
Okay, and back on page 7, you indicated what you did with the gather. Am I correct in saying you took the four comparables for repairs and maintenance and divided them through to get you $1,200 per suite per
Yes.
unit? Correct. Why would you not look at the years built of 2015 and 2016 and look at the per unit values there, and you've got $900 per unit and $1,300 per unit? Wouldn't in view of that trend, if it looks like the cost per unit is going up as the size of the project goes down, wouldn't 17 units draw a higher per unit repairs and maintenance price than 1308?
if you were to look at it that way, but I think if you look at it as a whole, using 1,200 per unit I feel it's reasonable, and it's also in line with what I generally see. Like, you know, I look at a lot of the income and expense information submitted by property owners. So, yeah, it's typically what I might see.
Yeah.
Ian, questions?
Can you tell me when the last time this property was inspected?
I think recently. This property was an appeal for a previous cycle, and it was inspected for the municipal work hearing.
Okay.
So it has been inspected recently.
Thank you. I have nothing further.
Linda?
No, my questions have been answered.
Okay, let's move on to your presentation.
Sorry, Mr. Cohen, if you could just give a bit of a brief background on this property. Again, you built this building in 2015. You've got a very thorough information package here. So if we kind of focus on pages 3, 5, and 7 in terms of the info of the property and a bit of the background of the history and some of the construction deficiencies that have occurred.
Sure. This was our first naive attempt at developing a property. You realize that already. So we contracted the building and found that there was a lot of problems. First of all, we thought that we had an excellent location, St. Vital, inner St. Vital. We thought we had an infill property, excellent location, contracted out a builder, had it built, and found that there were problems. First problem was we thought we were building a condominium and going to sell it as a condominium. We got no offers. We got very few people coming through. So after marketing it for a year as a condominium, we decided to market it as an apartment building. At the same time, we found a lot of construction problems, from the crawl space filling with water to the garage not being strong enough beam support to the garage walls weeping because they were steel stud walls, to smells traveling through the building because the makeup air unit for the common area was supposed to be designed to be put in the attic space. They found it was too big for the attic space, so they put it on the roof. And then they didn't take into consideration exhaust stacks that are venting up onto the roof, so the odors started traveling through the makeup air system into the common areas of the building. A lot of problems, and I've outlined a lot of them in this presentation, so I won't bore you with the details of going through them item by item unless you have specific questions.
Mr. God, just stop you there for 1 second. So
Sure.
again, you have gotten, professional engineers and various sources come in and take a look at these buildings, and they have documented some of the issues of this building. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So this isn't just your word. You've got the documentation here to show that these are issues, and as some of the permits show, some of them have been addressed to be dealt with, but some of them are definitely still outstanding. Is that correct?
Correct. So, and going on from there, I'm embarrassed to say that we hired engineers to correct the work. They didn't follow the plans that were provided to them. And so now we have issues with respect to the engineers and contractors that did the remedial work. We've got a sanction from the Engineering Association against one of those engineers, and the hearing for the other engineer is still pending, so we don't have a decision on that. So we still have a lot of work to do to rectify not only the original problems, but the problems that have occurred since. For instance, the crawl space weeping tile system. They digressed from the plans and specifications, put in a system that is now not functioning. And so we're going to have to tear that up and redo that. The only thing that I can say has been successful so far is the replacement of the garage beams. And we've now had a satisfactory situation there. And that impacts our expenses because, for instance, while the garage roof was lacked support, we had to put a snow blower up on the roof and snow blow the roof every time there was a snowstorm, et cetera, and so forth. And as I said, it could go on.
Mr. Coy, is it fair to say then, in your opinion, that while the building was built in 2015, it has some of the expenses and issues of an older building?
Well, for sure, there are expenses and they're not over. And then in addition to that, what I'm sad to say is we built immediately next door to a low rental housing. And that has had a significant effect on not only our sale, because that was the argument people made when they came to buy the property, was the units are gorgeous, they're huge units, they've got 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom units. Everybody raves about the units. And they were saying, unfortunate that it's built right next door to low rent. We've recently come to realize that the same problem exists with respect to renting it, because people make appointments to view, and they'll make an appointment at 7 o'clock, and at 6:45 they'll cancel the appointment. So we've had people not showing up for the showing, and yet when we do show suites, there are people that are willing to look at them. At least 75% of the time we're closing the deal. So basically that brings us to our valuation, and our valuation is summarized on page 9, where we have our net operating income of $207,000. We're using the same cap rate as we used in the previous presentation of simply 1 point above the mortgage rate at that time. Which gives us a preliminary value of 3.5, and we've estimated, because we don't have hard numbers on all our problems that are still outstanding. And let me digress for 1 second to give you an example, is we have a sound transmission problem from floor to ceiling. The first page of the plans and specifications of that called for the proper sound transmission isolation. The detail was a different design, and therefore the contractor built according to the detail, and that's in here as well. One of the pages that I won't hold you up by referring to it. Shows you the detail of the front page of the drawings, calls for a STC, it's called 57, and in fact, they did the building that was incorrect. So we still have to deal with the ceilings of every unit, which means tearing a ceiling out and putting in a new one. We've had 5 contractors come and look at it. Not one of them has come back with a quotation. So we're still in the problem of finding. Pardon me, one guy did come back with a quotation a year ago of the $9,000, and I think that's in here. When we went back to hire him, he said he was too busy and well, you should find somebody else. So we've got nobody yet to do that work because it's such a pain to tear something down and rebuild it. The drywall companies would prefer to just come in and put in new drywall. And workers are busy nowadays. It's tough to get everybody.
So fair to say you've had your fair share of problems.
Yes. So just to follow up, the net operating income that we generated is shown on page 11. So page 11, we've got our income, our actual income, and our expenses. Our expenses are low because once again, we're mixing apples and oranges because our maintenance guy is in there doing a lot of maintaining while we're trying to get things repaired. Another, for instance, if you look at the pictures, you'll see on the roof, there's an improvised shelter made around the makeup air unit. Because the makeup air unit was posted on the roof, it was failing over and over and over again. It wasn't designed to be there. We've recently improvised a shelter. Our maintenance people improvised a shelter to try to improve it. It's improved it substantially. Now we're going to have to put a permanent shelter up there that looks half decent. Those sorts of things are going into our maintenance. So this number is substantially on the low side. Nevertheless, I'm stuck with it because I gave it to you. And so our net operating income was $207,000. We're showing a vacancy factor of 15.79%. And that's what brought us to our answers on page 9, which is a $3.3 million valuation.
So I'll just I'll jump in just a couple things here just to kind of summarize this a little bit. If you look at the presentation here, Mr. Cohen's included, I think, the operating statements for every year since 2016. The summary on page 17, 20, 23, 26, 29, and 32, even going into 21. So again, you'll see that the actual vacancy of this property, the first year was 0%. That was a part of the lease up period. You were able to lease it up fairly quickly. You were able to lease it up full. Is that correct, Mr. Cohen?
1 year, yes.
Yeah. Then the following year, in 2017, I've got calculated a 10.4% vacancy. Following year, 5%. 2019 is reporting 10.6%. 2020, 5.1%. And again, on page 11 shows on the effective date of the assessment is 15.79%. So, the assessment of 3.2% vacancy, that has nothing that low has been experienced since the very first year. It's been between basically 5 and 10% for 4 years, and jumping up to 15% on the effective date. So I think that's one key thing that needs to be looked at is based on the information that's been supplied, this property has never had a vacancy of that low. And I think that 3.2% is pretty out of whack given the history of the subject property. Again, in terms of the expense rates, those expenses are based on this property being a 2015 build. And as Mr. Cohen's gone into some great detail, this building has had some serious issues, and whether they're going to be eventual capital expenses. The fact is the expenses are quite high right now to help deal with some of the issues of this building. It's not a typical 2015 construction. And I think lastly, the cap rate of the 4.15%, again, that is the ultimate lowest of the low. As I believe the board heard earlier, you're going to see really low cap rates if there's a rental upside on some properties. This property is a newer building. It's basically maxed out. There is no rental upside to this. The comparable at McPhillips at 4.8%, I think really is kind of the bare minimum rate that it should be at that 4.79%. So if you were to apply a 7.5% vacancy and a 4.8 cap rate, you're gonna come in, around, as Mr. Cohen said, around that $3.6 million, which coincidentally is about $215,000 per suite, which is what McPhillips sold for. So you can talk about economies of scale and whatnot, but to propose something of something so much $257,000 per suite when McPhillips sold for $215 at a 4.8 cap rate. Really that 3.6 number is backed up by a reasonable cap rate with historical vacancy rates, a sale price here of McPhillips. And it's our position that given some of these serious capital issues, 4.8 cap rate is not sufficient. That if anyone is going to buy this building, they're going to come into this with a building inspector, find out some of these issues, and they're going to realize that they're going to be out of pocket for some significant expenses upcoming. And that the 4.8 cap rate that McPhillips traded at, and is the lowest 20 percentile for the city of Winnipeg, just isn't realistic. You're going to need to, whether it's a half point or full point cap rate adjustment to recognize some of those market, capital building deficiencies is really appropriate. Bear with me just one second. I believe that is just about all I have to say, but I just want to double check my notes very quickly. Yeah, I think that kind of summarizes it. As Mr. Cohen pointed out, the 3.6 million is justified in many ways with a vacancy rate that's based on history, with an appropriate cap rate, and then from there an adjustment has to be made for the deficiencies of the building. And yeah, and the location too. Again, it is an infill that is next to low income housing. That is, whether we want to admit it or not, is affecting what's going on with the property. Anything else?
Well, I was raised in low rental housing, so it never occurred to me that would be a problem.
That would be our presentation.
Mr. Wong, question?
Maybe a couple questions. I guess your stabilization, I'm not sure what page it's on, but it's the one where you calculate your net operating income. Yes. You maybe let me know what page it is on for that.
I think 9, the 3.33 is what you're referring at the bottom of the valuation, the 3.330.
No.
Page 11, I think, is what I marked.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Since the income statement, April 1st, 2000.
Yes, sorry, that's page 11 electronic.
Page 11, okay. The total income that you've indicated is 295,000.
That's what's stated, yes.
And I'll just for your 2020 income statement, I don't know, I guess that would be near the back.
It's page 13 in your brief.
You said it's 2020, is that what you said? Yeah. I got page 29.
Oh, okay, I guess maybe on my brief it's page 13. It's indicating a total income of 337,000 as compared to what you've stabilized at 295,000. I was just wondering what the discrepancy is.
So we did to April 2021, we did a 12-month calculation to April 1st of 2021. So you're not comparing apples and apples.
I think the big difference is the vacancy. Based on the 2020 page 13 year brief, page 29 of the evidence, it reports a vacancy rate of 5.1% versus the April 2021, that vacancy rate jumps up to 15%. So I think it's that loss of extra 10% of revenue is the reason the income in 21 is lower than 20 is that vacancy rate has jumped.
Okay, and that makes up for it looks like 42,000 difference.
Maybe not every dollar, but I think the big chunk of it is that extra 10% of vacancy.
Okay.
Right now we have a 44% vacancy rate.
Okay. Well, I was just wondering, you've stabilized at 295, and at least for 2020, it seems to indicate 337,000. So I was just wondering what the difference was. Okay. On page.
Do you actually find the page numbers on these, or is it just we can't?
No.
I'll try and give you the I'll try and give you the electronic page.
Yeah, but I think it's page, might be page 10, but it's basically the valuation portion after,
The 3.33 there.
Yeah, that's
page 9 electronic.
page 9.
But up there, you can find some page numbers.
What page are you on right now?
I'm sorry.
That's page 11.
Page 11.
Okay.
Going back,
Like I said, I've done this too, so it's
going back to page 9 electronic on PDF.
you're there.
I'm there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Take the number in as well.
I'm almost there now.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Next one. Next page.
There we go.
There you go.
Almost scooped by that 4 times.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay.
Thank you.
We're
Go ahead.
making do, so. Just, I guess your indicated value is, 3.3,330,000. It seems that, you probably put, I would say, at least $4 million into the property. And I was just wondering if you would be a willing, seeing as you put probably over $4 million into the property, would you be a willing seller at 3,330,000?
Certainly not. I don't know if that's a fair question because I don't, we wouldn't sell it at a loss. We're hoping long term it'll be a decent investment, but right now we're suffering and we're not finished suffering.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, because I know you had mentioned, like, willing buyer and willing seller in there, and so I just wanted to ask you that question. But that would be all my questions.
Ian.
I have a question, something you alluded to about sanctions against the engineer. One of those hearings is completed.
Yes.
And another one is pending.
Yes.
And there's a lawsuit pending against the builder as well, or has that been resolved?
Again, no, that's still pending. There's a lawsuit against the builder and the designer.
So there's a potential of recapture or at least some of the funds that have been expended.
Well, if you exclude the legal fees, I guess you could say yes, but at the end of the day, we're gonna be out of luck. I mean, our legal expenses are huge.
Okay, thank you.
Linda.
I think you indicated the vacancy rate is higher again beyond the 15.
We're right now today, I know it's not relevant, but it's 44%.
And if you are doing corrections in the units to ceilings, do you anticipate that you're gonna have to do that kind of emptying out to?
It's a good question because we were contemplating doing it on a one as they came vacant basis. And then because the vacancy went up, we thought, well, we could get somebody, attract somebody better if we had a number to do. So like we sort of tried to structure occupancies to give a whole floor vacant because what we'll do is we won't do the ceilings of all 17 units because the top floor won't need it.
Right.
So we'll just do the bottom two floors. So it will impact, but we're now going to try our best just to rent it up because the losses are too substantial right now with all this, with a high vacancy rate. So if we can rent it up, then we'll do it one at a time if we can get somebody to do it.
Okay, thank you.
And I've got no further questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Sorry about the page numbering.
I know we're gonna take a short break. Want to throw us into recess, please? Where do you need? I can't stop. Ready? Call the meeting back to order. Mr. Long, will you read to the record for number 748 Banning Street, please?
Please swear by him.
Hmm?
Did you swear by him?
Oh, yes, Diane's got to be sworn in first. Thank you, Linda.
You're welcome.
Applicants,
Yes,
please state your full name.
Diane, last name C-U-N-T, is good.
Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, it's true.
Thank you.
Now, Mr. Long.
The subject property is 748 Banning. The roll number is 130-225-790-00. Is that present?
Can you get the glasses?
Sure.
hopefully to get the glasses, but that when I come here, I don't know if I look into it.
That's one pair of glasses. Careful. You ready, Diane?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Wong, carry on, please.
Okay, the subject property is 748 Banning, the roll number is 130-225-790-00. It's a residential apartment block that's 2 stories high. It's built in 1954 and has 11 suites with 3 outdoor parking stalls. On page 2 is the sales history of the subject property. It's sold, I guess, maybe more recently in 2006 for 300,000 and in 2007 for 387,000.
What was that number?
387. It's on page 2.
Carry on.
Yeah, so you don't have to write it down. On page 3 is a picture of the subject property with its location. On page 4 is our income valuation summary. This property is currently vacant and has been vacant for a while. To reflect that, we've applied rents that are on the lower end of the range, being $507 per unit, and which gives us a potential income of $67,000. And then to also recognize that the property is vacant, we applied a 25% vacancy, which is what we do for vacant buildings. That gives us a effective gross income of $50,000, and we used a 61% expense ratio to get a net operating income of $19,000, kept at 5.6%. Our estimated value, is $342,000. On page 5, there's some rent comparables that show that the rent that we used is in line with what's in the market and at the lower end of the range. On page 6 is a comparable sale. You can see the subject property is built in 1954, 11 units, 9,764 square feet. We have it assessed at 342,000, and that works out to about 31,000 per unit, or about $35 a square foot. And below that is the sale of 181 Balmoral. It's a older building, 1913, but it is also vacant. And that one sold in March of 2021 for $735,000, and that works out to about $47 a square foot. So basically, I think we reflected the fact that this property is vacant and it is reasonable compared to another vacant property that's sold. On page 7 is information on how we derived our cap rates. On page 8 are some cap rate sales, which range from 3.6% to 5.74%. And on page 9 is office cap rate information indicating the cap rate to be 4.3%. So on page 12, this is the income and expense questionnaire submitted by the owner. So when looking at this particular property, we do recognize that it's conditioned, and we've applied a lower rent, and we've applied a higher vacancy. And when you look at the 2006 and 2007 sales of 300,000 or 387,000, I think that supports the 342,000 that it's currently at, which is 15 years later, apart from those sales. And also, when you look at the sale of 181 Balmoral, which is also vacant, that supports the current assessed value for the subject property. And so I ask that you maintain the assessed value at 342,000.
Okay. Any questions, Diane?
Yes, you say, do of comparison, page 8. On page 8, the comparison, they sell, is it do of this building have any problem about the roof leaking and the boiler is broken like 748 does like that way?
I don't believe so. I don't know, but I don't believe so. I believe these are just the regular operating apartment buildings.
Yeah, and then why you bring this property come to compare mine? Because the 748 bending is the boiler broken already 7 years, and the roof was leaking also, and all the wall inside now is mold anywhere. And how can you bring this comparison to compare my property? That doesn't look like right comparison, right?
Well, I mean, there aren't that many buildings out there that in your condition that sell. And so I showed a like 181 Balmoral, it was vacant. I don't know if the boiler was broken. I don't know if the roof was leaking, but it was a vacant building and it sold for something.
Did they totally vacant?
Yeah.
They totally vacant like 748 bending?
Yeah.
Do you have anything proof about that? Or just by talking like that way?
I mean, if you really want, I can send you information indicating that it was vacant.
Well, I believe so. It's nothing like that happened, right? Because the apartment, they always have someone renting there.
Yes, I understand.
It's totally vacant like 748 bending.
181 Balmoral was vacant.
Okay, I need that to put to me because you did not send the information. We can read on that, right? And also is why the assessor they submit to the municipal board for the hearing on management evidence, April 29, 1:30 p.m. The department assessor say these two property totally void. It's nothing good. Everything is pretty old. The counters old. The floor is no flooring, nothing, and the wall is cracked all over. And the roof was leaking for both.
Diane, have you got a question that you want for him right now, or are you going to go into your presentation?
Yeah. Why the assessor say on municipal board for the hearing, they say this property was in fact by the department in June of 2018. The condition of both property is such that it purchased would solely consider the value of the land, accept the recommend of this report is both for 748 bending and 75 bending be valued at the land only.
That's a question.
Yeah, what?
Were you aware of this, Mr. Wong?
I am not aware of that.
Yeah, this is from assessor department. Assessor department, this assessor sent to municipal board this document by assessor sent to municipal board for the hearing. That's how the document is sent to municipal board. And they say clearly in here, these two property, because the assessor come down this property and they look over everything is nothing worth it. Instead had tear down the building.
Are you gonna ask him a question now? That's gonna
What?
make your presentation, okay?
Okay, yeah.
Put that in your presentation.
Why you bring the door of this part beside that? Why you bring?
Diane, he didn't bring it. He said he wasn't aware of this paper. So you have to ask him another question, okay?
Yeah, I want to ask him why he do differently, not like the assess department. They always have their record, right? They always show on the record clearly what the building condition and you're aware.
Yeah, we are aware of the condition.
Yeah, and then why you assessment increase to 342,000 for 2003 like that. Where you bring on that to increase the assessed value?
Generally speaking, the market values are going up over time.
How can they go up the property totally water? Like something is had been damaged. It's nothing value. How can they increase the value?
Well, like I said, like 181 Balmoral was vacant and it's sold for a value, a rate that was higher than what we have your property assessed at.
No, but did they building it badly like 748 banding? Did the roofing leaking?
Yeah,
And did the boiling is
leaking, or I don't know if the boiler was broken.
Diane,
then
Diane, he's not aware of that. He's already said it. Have you got any questions or do you want to give your presentation to us today?
yeah, and
You're going to present that to us after, so.
okay. No more questions.
Okay, we're going to come back to you. Ian, do you have any questions of the assessor?
The only question I have is with respect to the sale prices, the subject sale history. Consideration 825,000, sworn value 825,000. The sale price is considerably less. Was this part of a parcel sale?
I believe it was for 748 banning and 757 banning, which is the next one.
Okay, I was just trying to do the math between the two of those, and the land titles would reflect that that was in fact at the same time. Or that's your understanding?
October 25th.
Okay.
October 25th. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. That was my only question.
Linda?
I note that you have indicated you don't know the condition of that Balmoral sale. But would you consider that 181 Balmoral is a different neighborhood? It's on the south side of Broadway, correct? Would be on the south side of Broadway.
Actually,
Mm-hmm.
Which would be quite a different neighborhood than Banning.
He's looking it up on his map now.
Yep.
Yeah, it is, it is just off of, Broadway.
Yeah.
It would be. Yeah, that particular area, it actually can be very.
Gentrified a bit.
Yes, exactly. It can be very low quality or it could be very high quality, but,
I do notice that the per square foot value is higher. I just wanted to clarify that was on the south side. Thank you. That's all my question.
And I'm gonna wait till Linda presents, and I might have some questions for you, not Linda.
I'm not doing it.
Linda. Once Diane presents, I might have some questions to come back at you.
okay. Why can't you ask me?
Diane, but I'm not sure what they're gonna be yet. Diane, go ahead.
Yeah.
Make your
This
presentation.
is the document so ABC like that. That is belong to 748 Banning. And like the roof of this building was badly 2010 already badly they leaking, and the roof is at that time 2010 they asked for 40,000 past GST, but up to today this now they ask for 140,000 for repair the whole roof, because they had to tear down whole thing, the insulation, everything, because they leaking badly inside there. And for document B is for renovation. This back to 2013. At that time, they just at that time the boiler not broken yet, and the building inside still good condition. And they asked for they just do some only. They just painting and no, this is for the boiler. Document B is for the boiler. This boiler broken on 2010 and 2013. The boiler they asked for replacement. The boiler is at that time they asked for beside the boiler broken and the heating register in every room all broken, because the boiler broken, cause the door that all broken. So they say for candle for door of that system, they say they just give the Acme roughly only, but they say cost around 140,000, but they say they not permanent on that. They say every time the hour they put in more, because now they have to take down the wall to find out where the water line or the boiler. They because the water line all broken, because the boiler broken, then the water, the copper all broken. So they say they have to tear down all the wall to do on that, and that they not include in the price. They just include the boiler and the register only, and they say the tear door that they not include. They say may up to over 250,000. They say that they not give the exactly price. That's how they say clearly in here. And like you can see the door of this register on document B, the next page on that you can see the register all broken. And for document C is for renovation. That 2011. At that time, the boiler not broken. And they just the renovation, they just because when I buy this property, the owner, the previous owner just sold me a couple apartment only. And they sold me a couple apartment, 1 or 2 units only, and that looked good to me. The rest is really badly. I did not know, and that's why I buy a wrong price. And after that, after I buy it, then I went into the unit. Oh, the wall is old, and the tenant keep calling. They say the electric not working, the plumbing toilet not working, or the sink not working. So have to keep fixing like that. Cost a lot of money for fixing when the tenant call like that. And then, and beside that, and the renovation is cost is at that time is 2011. They asked for just similar, do the painting and patching the drywall, and the labor only. They give me the labor only. They say I have to buy the material. They provide the labor only. Is 213,000. That is back to 2011. And now they ask is 450,000 for this year. And they say, I ask, they give me the code. They say they just give roughly like that. They say when they do on that, then they will let me know exactly what the price. So they say, they tell me just roughly 450, like that way. Then they ask I do I have 450,000? Then they will try to do 1 unit, see how much cost. Then they go up from that. And you can see document C, the sidewalk is lending is after this is in 2010 is they ask for 39,000. Just they put the hole in the concrete and lift up the concrete instead the concrete leaning 45 like that. They say they drill the hole to the concrete and lift the concrete up like that, not replacement. 3,900. And if they say the replacement, then cost is 20,000 for around that area. And for the stucco outside is all is cracked badly. As you can see on the document E, is cracked badly. On the picture, document E, and the brick is some is broken, already broken, and the window sill.
So Diane, could I slow you down 1 second?
Yeah.
You're basically saying it's uninhabitable, correct?
Yeah.
You're saying that what the board report that you read from, it's only worth what the land is worth. Is that what
That's right.
That's what you're trying to tell us.
Yes.
And that's what all this information is for.
Yes. And also because why I have to pick this building, because I get the document F, because the beside I get the cheating by the previous owner about the condition of the suite. Also, they cheating me about the renting too, because they say 420 per 1 unit for renting at that time. And I checked with the tenant, the tenant say yes, 420. And that after that, then I get the letter from the residential bank say no, you can charge the tenant 420 because the previous owner did not apply to the residential bank. So they say if they register with the residential bank, then they can increase. But now they did not apply for rent increase. So now the only is agree is 335,000 per month. So whatever the tenant pay 420, that's over. So the residential as I had to pay back to the tenant for what they overpay to the landlord.
But that was back in 2008, Diane, so I don't think it's relevant with what we're dealing with today.
Yeah,
Okay, so let's talk about today,
yeah,
okay?
yeah,
We already, and you told us the condition, so is there
yeah.
anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, the bull property just like the same, almost like the same, and the assessor send the key management evidence to the municipal board.
Yeah.
On April 29,
2020.
2020, yeah, and they say they recommend this property to the land assessment only, and in here is and they choose some land sale with high price, but actually I have the evidence which is page 0. I have this evidence is the land only assessment 75,000 only. This and this is about $15 per 16 on square feet only. But assessor pick up some is pretty high. Assessor some they sell is $44 or $62 to comparison my property. That's not right. Because
that was 2020, you said they did that, right?
yes.
Page
4. Yeah. That's not fair for they pick up low high sale like that way to comparison mine, right? And they have a lot of land sale in the rent. I know just around $15 or $16 only, because at that time I do have this property. The evidence on this property is put down 0 document. Is they sell is assessment 75,000.
But
They sell this property only 80,000 only.
yeah, Diane, that was the 2018 value, correct?
No, this is 2021. This last year.
But that was the appeal in 2021, but it was for the 2018 year, was it not?
This is this 2020 assessment here. 2020 assessment.
Page 8. She's
Page
referencing
8.
page 8.
You're on page 8 now? Oh.
Yeah, it's 0. The document 0 is 47.
Yeah, got it.
Assessment. From the assessment rule.
That's from the assessment roll, 75,000.
Yeah, and this property.
Oh, that's Harriet.
Yes, Harriet. 47 Harriet.
Mm-hmm.
This is from assessor department.
Mm-hmm.
Send this to me. I because this property they sell the land, so I asked them how much the cost, what the assessment value, and they give me this document. I printing out this one in the computer.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just $15, 16 cents per square feet only. But the asset department, they did not pick up friend land sale at 2018 or 2020 at all. They pick up all is a high sale on,
This isn't a sale, this is an assessed value, and we don't use assessed value.
but they sell
This is the
80,000. Yeah, they sell only 80,000.
Where do you see that 80,000?
My friend bought it.
Oh, your friend bought it, but
Yeah.
you didn't give me any evidence to show me that.
No, my friend bought it.
Yeah, it doesn't do me any good though. Your friend bought it, but where's the evidence?
Because I did not ask my friend, but my friend they bought it 80,000. They told me they bought it 80,000. Assessment is 75,000
Yeah.
for this property, and they bought 80,000.
And how big is your property?
My property, the land is you can look on the back here.
Yeah.
You can look on the back here. The back of this document. The document I sent with this in the packet of this.
Yeah.
On the back here.
It's there.
On the last page.
Yeah.
On the last page here.
This is here, right?
My 748 this is
There it is, R2.
this is
261.
almost 5,000 square feet for 47 Harry. It's
Little bigger.
44,947 square feet for this property. But mine is 5391 square feet. That is 400 square feet bigger.
Can I ask you that document you're showing us here, did you take that to appeal to the municipal board? Is that what you did? And it was,
No, I did not. I did
how did
not
it get to the municipal board?
because the assessor sent me this one. The assessor sent me this one to municipal board. They send to municipal board. When I go to submit my document, the municipal board give me this document. Municipal board give me this.
2020.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And,
think it's like a case management documentation. But the thing is typically with case management documentation, all the stuff is talked about without prejudice.
Yeah.
And so.
And this is the offer
And she
from the
never did
assessor.
any of this. This is where I'm coming from right now. This is just case management, because that's what I saw in here.
Yeah.
It was never settled with the city.
No, I don't agree
Okay, so
because he offered.
I know that I'm seeing what he offered,
Yeah, but
But you
I
didn't
not
agree
agree
to it.
because that price is high.
but this stuff here is, you can't bring it forward as evidence.
Because they offer is high. They bring the land sale for the land. They pick up some high sale on that and some good area on that to compare mine, and I don't think that's fair. So at the
Okay.
time they assess the municipal board
Let's
hearing
agree
like
to
that,
disagree that
and then
we're not
and
gonna
then
be taking that as evidence because of where it's coming from. And you're disagreeing with the numbers, correct?
yeah, I don't agree that
You
the
told-
number they are
You
high.
told me that
And they-
nobody can live in these buildings anyway.
No,
Are you planning on fixing these buildings?
no,
You're
no,
not, so you're gonna sell them eventually.
but because it's
You're gonna sell them eventually, correct?
yes, but because I
So Diane, you want a higher number then, so you can get a higher dollar,
no,
because you'll get a better value if they see it, they'll say it's worth more money.
no, because assessment then have to be on the back, right?
Yeah,
They can be on whatever they good for them and no good for the client. No,
Okay.
no, no.
let's get back to your piece here and give us the evidence on why you've already told us it's a derelict building, correct?
Yes,
Okay,
and
so why don't you leave us with that information? We know it's a derelict building, we'll look at what we see with the values that you've given us. We've got all your papers here. Is there anything else you want to add?
yeah, that's why I need your be on and this document here, I pick up something here.
Yeah.
This is belong to this document because they make it photocopy. It's not good.
So
They
we got
make
the-
it too late.
We've
Too
got
late.
all
I
the-
can see clearly. This is how I pick up in that.
Yeah, we've
And
got-
you
we've
can
got that.
see,
We've got the document here.
and you see is how different the assessment from them and how different assessment from mine.
Yeah.
That is totally not fair for like that,
And we don't
right?
deal with assessment. We only deal with sales.
Yeah, even sale is not fair like that.
We,
Because those of these properties sell, right? They bring those of these properties sell to comparison mine. This is they sell, not assessment. They see they sell in here, the sale price here. The sale price
Yeah.
here. You can see the sale price there.
yeah,
Page 9.
it's page 9, yeah.
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 Yeah, we've got it.
They have it. It's
We have it.
Yeah, they have sale price here.
Yep.
And the sale price is the first one is at the Isabel. They did not give the number of this property. And the Isabel sale is 235,000.
Mhm.
And the lot is double, almost bigger double than mine. They have 9,929 square feet. And 740 only 5,391.
Okay. Very good. Move on.
And the spend 509 spend
Yeah.
is they sell for 190,000. And the square feet is the land is 7,228
Mhm.
square feet. Also bigger than 748 bending and 757 bending.
20. Okay.
And
Where'd you get these sales from?
these from assessor.
You got those from the assessor, those sales?
Yeah.
Okay.
Though these from assessor
Okay.
submit the municipal board.
Oh, when you're at the municipal board.
Yes.
Okay.
They submit the information in here. So I just pick up some from them and to provide for 2023 the sale on this property is 538 separate is they sell 110,000
Mm-hmm.
and they square feet is 4,100
Mm-hmm.
09 and 47
Harriet.
Harry is 4 square feet is 49,000 4,947 and they sell for a friend of mine say 75,000.
No, 80,000 you said.
No, 75,000. I forget 75,000.
Okay.
He said he bought this property 75,000. That's exactly like in here. That's how he tell me.
Okay. Anything else, Dad?
No, that's all I can say.
Okay, we're gonna see if there's any questions. Does all this information you've given us fit both properties?
Yeah, both
Yeah,
this
because
property.
you were talking about both properties here as you were going
Yeah.
along, so
Yeah,
the
this,
information that you were
this-
presenting is to cover both of them, correct?
yeah, and this 757 bend.
Yeah.
You can see 377 Home Street.
Yeah.
This is apartment.
Yeah.
And this apartment is really good
Well, let's
apartment.
not get into it yet. Well, let's deal with this one first then. Do you have any questions, Mr. Wong?
No questions.
No questions? Ian, do you have any questions?
I do not.
Hmm?
No, I have no questions.
Okay.
No.
Linda, none? I got none. Okay, so we're gonna go on to your other property now, okay?
Yeah,
And that's the,
757 bend.
Yeah. you said this is the same as that one. It's a derelict building again, correct?
They're very similar, slightly
Okay.
different in size and units.
Okay, want to read it on the record, please?
Subject property is 757 Banning Street. The roll number is 130-224-56000. It's a residential apartment block that's 2 stories high. It was built in 1955 and has 12 suites with 3 outdoor parking stalls. On page 2 is the sales history for the subject property. The indicated value in 2006 was 300,000, and in 2007 it's 437,000. And that's a little bit higher than what the current value is at 362,000. Page 3 is a picture of the subject property with its location. It's pretty much diagonally across from 748 Banning. And if the income is the same, where we've used probably rents that are on the lower end of the range, but the 1 bedroom rent being $496. We've applied a 25% vacancy in this case to recognize that it is vacant, and using a net operating income of 20,000, we apply a 5.6% cap rate for an estimated market value of 362,000. Page 5 are rent comparables, showing that our rents are in line with what's in the market, probably on the lower end of the range. And on page 6. And it's a comparable sale of an older vacant property at $47 a square foot, and the current assessed value is at $36 a square foot. So I feel that supports the current assessed value. On page 7 is information on how we direct our cap rates. Page 8 are some cap rate sales, which range from 3.6 to 5.74%, and these are meant to substantiate the cap rates that the model is applied. Page 9 is information indicating the cap rate for 2020 is 4.3%. And the remainder of my brief is the income and expense submitted by the property owner, indicating that the property is vacant. So once again, we've recognized that this is a vacant building using low rents and very low rents, and applying 25% vacancy. The 2006 and 7 sales of 300,000 and 437,000 support the assessed value of 362,000, and also sale of 181 Balmoral supports the model at 362,000. So I ask that you maintain the assessed value at 362,000.
Any questions, Diane?
Yes,
Same as before, right?
yes. I wondering why 748 Banning and 757 Banning is totally vacant. Why you say you give 25% of the vacant rate?
Yeah.
That doesn't look like right.
Yeah, for buildings that are empty, we apply a 25% vacancy.
Why? This 100% vacancy, not the 25% vacancy.
I mean, if we applied 100% vacancy and we had a 0 value, that's not very
Well,
accurate.
no, if 100% vacancy, then you say 100% vacancy, then you can.
Diane, he's already made you that offer and you didn't want it. He offered you 100% vacancy before and you didn't want it. You didn't accept it. When you were
Because
at
they
the
offer
board,
that
you didn't
not
accept it.
no,
correct?
they offer not the right property. They offer not the right property. They pick up the high sale. They pick up the high sale to apply my property. That's not fair.
Okay.
Because in this one.
Diane, ask him your question, but stay within your boundaries here, okay?
Yeah, because the way you say 25% vacancy like that is not right, because these two property 100% vacancy.
Like I said, like we're not treating your property any different than other properties. Other properties that are empty, we apply a 25% vacancy and value that way as well. So we're not doing this just for your property. This is how we apply it to other empty properties.
That's a strength to me, right? Because
well, I mean, would you sell it for 362,000?
right now, I didn't know what to do. Just like someone they buy stock, now they drop down. They did not know what to do. Right? They hope they can get some went up so they can sell. But this property, okay, so no more questions. Now I want to present my
There's questions here. Andrew,
I do not have any questions.
No, you don't, but I don't either. On with your presentation.
okay. And on the document 1, 2, 3, 4, 5
Yep.
here.
Yeah. We're there.
And you can see the front page of this document.
Yep.
The front page.
Right here, yeah.
And you see the apartment 377 Home Street, this apartment. And this apartment, I believe they appeal to municipal law also. 19 and 20 and 21, 21, something like that, but did not get the result. So therefore, I can put in here. I just write down on they get appeal settlement for 2018. That is 281,000. And this property, the lot is bigger than mine. The lot is
4,980 square feet.
Yeah,
Okay.
bigger than mine.
Yeah.
My property. And same as for Toronto. This also apartment also. And the land is 6952 square feet. It's almost 1.5 bigger than mine. And they assessment for 2022 and 287 only. And they apartment, you look on the picture on page 3.
Yes.
On page 3 here. You look on the apartment, it's good condition. And they have full rental on Bull property. The inside unit is all good condition. Nothing is like 748 or 757 bending at all. And they say, and you see the assessment is only 2022.
Yep.
For Toronto, only
We don't
287.
deal with assessment. We deal with value.
Though this property, I believe they value more than mine.
Okay, well, I know, but that's
Yeah, now
all
wait.
you can do is assessed value.
Now I appeal about the assessment, assessment value, right?
On your property, the assessed value, yes, but we're not talking about the assessed value of those properties, okay?
No, this same thing.
No, it's
It
not the same thing.
my assessment value, this assessment, right? I appeal
Okay, so-
assessment value, right?
I said it right at the beginning, we don't deal with assessed values. Okay, we're not gonna use any assessed values, we just deal with sale values.
Well, that doesn't make sense. Is it this property sell for 281? No, they not sell for 281, 221. They don't sell for 281,000. They not, right? Same as this apartment, they not sell the apartment 287. No,
That's the assessment.
I know, but they not sell that property.
I
They not
don't
sell
know
that
what
property.
they'd sell for, Diane, but we don't deal with assessed value. I'm trying to explain to you, we deal with market value of a house and the sale.
Yeah, but
Okay,
But
this
this-
is an assessment.
but this is the apartment.
Yes. but still,
They not sell their property in that value, right? So, but you can look on the assessment of their value is.
no, we
it's
don't
not
look
low-
at the assessed value. I'm trying to explain that to you. We don't look at assessed value.
No, you say like that is not right, because when I come here, I appeal the assessment value.
You appeal your assessment value,
Yeah,
but you don't bring assessment values of other houses.
no, this apartment, not the house. This
Okay.
apartment just like mine,
Okay.
my apartment,
But
right?
that's the assessment of those apartments, correct?
Yeah,
And we
just like
don't-
mine,
I know,
just like
but we
my
don't-
assessment
I know.
value. I
Their
appeal
assessments,
assessment
what I'm
value.
telling you is their assessments can be wrong.
No, how can they wrong? This is
Because they
on
could-
computer.
Because they
No,
could be wrong,
no, this on the computer. I look on the computer.
know.
You look on the computer.
but
Then you
assessments,
know that's
assessments can be, they could be down here tomorrow appealing those, as far as we know, right?
no. They already set. They already set on here.
Okay.
On the
I won't
computer.
argue
You
with you,
look on
but we're
the.
not gonna accept assessed value, okay? If you got sales, we'll deal with that. Continue on,
Well,
Diane.
just like I say, the sale, even sale here is not, is lower than mine.
Okay,
Look on the sale here, all lower than mine. The
that's on that back page, right? What you're
That-
talking about now?
Mhm.
on Isabel,
What page is that? again?
Page 9.
Page 9.
page 6, I believe.
We
You're
got it.
looking
We
here?
got it. Yeah,
You get it?
yeah, we got it. The next one, I think.
Yeah.
There you go.
There it is. Assessment sale comparables. Yeah, we went through all these ones already.
So you can see that's it,
That's the exact same as before.
that is too
Yeah.
high for me. That is assessment for 748 bending and 757 bending is too high to comparison selling here.
Okay, so what are you saying your values should be?
Seven four eight bending, I would like to say about 140,000.
Mhm.
757 bending, I would like to say about 190.
190. That's where you think they should be. 140. Oh, we go. We're there. Is there anything else you wanted to add, Diane?
No,
No? Is there any questions for Diane at this time? Mr. Wong?
No questions.
Not from
Not
me,
from
thanks.
Ian?
No.
Linda?
No.
That will conclude it then, Diane.
yeah.
Thank you very much. And we're gonna go in camera for a bit. Mr. Wong?
Sorry, I just wanted to double check, the requested for 748 is
What?
140
Correct.
and 190 for 757.
Yeah, that's what she was requesting. Yes.
Yep.
Let's go in camera. We're up. Call the meeting back to order. We have heard all the items scheduled and this hearing is now adjourned. Shut her down.